Good afternoon, good morning, good night. Welcome back to the How Does This Work podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Lance. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at _Antoine Lance. That's the in all caps _ANTWANLANCE. Also, be sure to follow the show on Twitter at HDTW_podcast. Happy Thursday. Your week's almost over. I hope it's been a good week for everybody. I have an interview tomorrow, so super excited about that. It's actually my second interview. I had my first interview on Tuesday, I believe, and that went super well. And now I'm on to interview number 2, so hopefully that all goes well, because gotta make money somehow. Gotta pay the bills, but I'm super excited. I think it'll be a fun job. So hopefully that'll work out for me. I'll let everyone know how that goes on next Tuesday. But I hope that your week has been sweet to you. I hope everything's worked out. I hope that if you are working currently, I hope that you've had a very smooth week at work. I hope you didn't have to deal with any belligerent customers who didn't want to wear masks if you work in customer service or anything like that, any field like that. I hope everything just went smoothly. I hope it's been a good week, and I hope that you have 25 more great weeks for the remainder of this year, because I believe we are now officially in like the second half of the year. So hopefully the second half of the year goes much better than the first half went. It's been an interesting year so far. Lots has happened, and it's only July, but we only got 4 more months, so it's almost 2021, so at least we can look forward to that. But message for the day, topic for the day, not too much really beating around the bush. I want to try and get more into my episodes, just right into the point. Here's my spiel, get you back to doing whatever you're doing, and be done with it within however many minutes. But topic for today is being considerate, considering everything, considering all possibilities, because I think that as mortal beings, I feel we are very, very, very inconsiderate. And I don't just mean inconsiderate in the sense that we're mean or rude, because we're that too. I mean, there are a lot of mean or rude people out there in the world, but when I say being inconsiderate, I more so mean not taking different aspects of a situation into consideration. Let's say you're in a situation, and it doesn't really matter what the situation is. It could be the biggest situation, it could be the smallest situation. It really doesn't matter. I think what happens is sometimes we get so caught up in the moment that we're in, that we lose all focus of we get tunnel vision. We end up just thinking, okay, here's my problem. I need to get through this problem. I'm going to do it this way. And we only do it one way, and it might work, it might not, but we don't consider different possibilities. I was like having this conversation with my brother a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda game. And in the game, there are these shrines. I believe that there's a intended method that you take to beat all of the shrines. I believe that there are developer intended methods that you should take in order to beat them. But for a lot of them, I don't do them in what I believe is the developer intended way. I just do them however works for me. Whatever gets it done. And he, we'll play, and he'll tell me like, oh, you could have done it this way. You didn't do it right. And I'm like, no, it's not that I didn't do it right. I just didn't do it a way. I did it my own way. And, obviously that's a much more lighthearted example, but this is definitely a thing that can grow into a major issue for a lot of people. And I think, like I said, we get tunnel vision, and we end up just not forgetting, but we just focus so much on our target or our goal that we end up forgetting that there's so many different ways to get things done. Like the saying is, there's plenty of different ways to skin a cat. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I just want to know who who was skinning cats though? Like, I'd love to know where that saying comes from. Why, I don't know why we would be skinning cats. Personally, I don't think you should skin cats. Cats kind of need their fur. I would never personally skin a cat, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about considering different possibilities and considering different methods to solving whatever problem you face. And I think, like I said, we just get tunnel vision and we lose sight of the different paths to a goal. You know, there's not always just going to be one path to a victory. You know, you don't have to score a touchdown every time to win a football game. You kick 3 field goals. You could score a touchdown, miss an extra point, get a safety. You know, there's just so many different ways that you can accomplish your goal. I just don't, to me, it just doesn't really make sense to zero in on a specific way so much and be like, yeah, that's the right way. You know, that's the way you're supposed to do it. I'm not railing out against college by any means. If you can go to college and get a degree, then by all means go to college, get a degree. College degrees are good for you in certain situations. But to the people who like blast that, oh, college is the only way in life that you'll ever be successful or, you know, really amount to anything or just anything like that, you're wrong. You know, like, sure, again, I'm not saying that people shouldn't go to college. I think college is great. It's a great thing. It's a cool experience. However, I also believe that if what you want to do doesn't require a degree, then don't go to college. You know, if you can do what you want to do by just getting experience doing what you want to do, I think you'd be better off doing that. You know, there are plenty of people with college degrees who don't know how to do their job. So to say that, oh, you go to college and you'll be set for life is such a farce that we need to stop telling the young people like that. I don't think college is not the only way to a successful, happy life. And success in itself is so volatile. Like, it depends on an individual. It's different from person to person. You know, person A's success might not be person B's success. And it's not fair for us as humans to try and live vicariously through other people. You know, like, just because you didn't get to have that success, don't put that on someone else. Don't make it someone else's dream, because 9 out of 10 times it's not their dream. You know, just let that person do what they want to do. But and those are all things that you have to take into consideration. Like, you shouldn't just try and force what you want on other people because it's what you want, and not take into consideration the other people's feelings, which I think is a big issue for a lot of people. You know, they don't like take into consideration that they might be on page 39 of a book and another person may not have even opened that book yet. Doesn't mean that they're not going to open that book or that they don't want to open that book. They just haven't opened that book yet. So you can't do things, you know, you can't, like, you have to slow your roll, you know, just take that into consideration that that person might not, you know, they don't want to do that right now. They're not there. They're not in that mindset. And those are all things we have to take into consideration as far as just everyday existence, honestly. You know, you see it all the time. People will, and this is something that I try not to do. You know, you have interest. I have interest as people. We all have interest, but we shouldn't force our interest on the other people. And then when they don't enjoy your interest the way that you do not then get upset with that person because they didn't really want to do what you made them do in the first place. You know, they just did it because they probably just wanted to spend the time with you. But by no means does that obligate them to enjoy enjoy it. Like, you gotta take into consideration, man. Just stop and think for like 4 seconds. All right, maybe this person doesn't want to do this thing, and realize that that's okay, because we're allowed to be different as people. You know, we don't all have to like the same things. We don't all have to do the same things, but we all, before we start forcing other people into doing things, we got to take into consideration that they might not want to do that, and we have to be okay with that. And I think we'd be living a much better world if we took more things like that into consideration. Or, you know, just basic things like they might not want to do that. Cool. That's, you just wasted a lot of time, and you just kept a lot of people from, or I said you wasted a lot of time. You just saved a lot of time. This might seem like kind of a weird example, but this past weekend, not this past weekend, it was a couple of days ago, I was watching Desperate Housewives with my girlfriend. Don't care what you think. It's a great show. If you want to talk about it, you can at me. There's an episode where one of the characters' wives, she had cancer, But during the entire time that she had cancer, she was being really, self-centered and just kind of focused on herself. Obviously, she had cancer. I get it. It makes sense. But he confronted her and was like, yo, you haven't asked me once how I've been doing this entire time while you've been sick. And she realized that that's what she was doing. And she was like, wow, I really haven't. Like, I haven't done that. I haven't asked you once. And it's just like and obviously it's a TV show, so it's a little bit different, but it's a real thing. Like, there are sick people who, once they become sick, they stop caring about other people's feelings and really only put themselves first. And there's a space to talk to those type of people about those types of things. You got to do it in the right time, and you have to be the right person to do it. But there's definitely a space to have that conversation. I feel like there's a space to have every conversation, even those really, really, really dark ones that a lot of people probably dread having. But, it's just like, okay, that's a real thing. Like, that's real. So if there are people out there who are sick with terrible, terrible diseases, and they come to the realization that they are being very inconsiderate of other people's feelings, I don't understand why a perfectly healthy human being can't come to the realization like, oh, I'm being kind of a turd right now. Because I think it's a bigger problem, or I guess that's why I think it's a bigger problem than what a lot of people realize. Like, I don't think a lot of people see that behavior as being inconsiderate. I think they just see it as, I think there are some people who see it as being helpful. There are other people who see it as, this is me, this is who I am, I'm gonna kind of do what I want. Those people are the real issue. Like, being inconsiderate as a result of trying to be helpful is a little bit different of a thing, and by itself is not really all that harmful unless your help isn't helpful. Like, if your help just makes the situation worse and you are constantly trying to help, then maybe you should realize that, sometimes we don't need your help. But that in itself, just trying to be helpful, not necessarily a bad thing. People who don't realize that they're being inconsiderate is terrible, though. That's a horrible, horrible thing. When you have people who just go out and say whatever and do whatever without really taking into consideration like other people's feelings or the consequences of their actions. I feel like people don't think that their actions have consequences, which is ridiculous. It's couldn't be further from the truth. Obviously, everyone's actions have consequences. Everything you do has a consequence, whether it be intended or unintended. There is some repercussion for every decision that you make in life. And I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me how sick people can realize that faster than perfectly healthy people. But like I said, the people who don't think it's a problem, we need to have a talk with you. I need to have a chat with you, let you know that you're an inconsiderate butthole, and I need you to fix that because you are hurting the other people in your life, and they don't like that. And you probably don't want to hurt them, or maybe you do. Maybe you just don't care. There are people who will deal with you accordingly, but just try and reel it in if you can. You don't have to be that way all the time. With COVID going on right now, obviously, this, as of like the time that I recorded this, I just saw that the Ivy League, which is like Stanford, Harvard, Yale, all those schools, they canceled all their fall sports, which is crazy that we're supposed to be the leaders of the free world, and we allowed this thing to be as bad as it is heading into the fall, where it's only probably going to get worse, but neither here nor there. Lack of leadership. But they, with COVID and everything going on, we're seeing just how inconsiderate a lot of people truly are, because all we're doing is asking you to put on a freaking mask. We're just asking you to put on the mask. Honestly, the mask is helpful from many ways. We don't really want to smell your stink breath anyways. So if you could just put on the mask, that'd be great. If you could stay out of people's personal space, that'd be great. But we're starting to see just how inconsiderate people really are. And it's not even like, I get it, especially in the South, it's hot and it's humid. It's been super humid for like the last week and a half down here. Do I want to wear the mask whenever I go places? Absolutely not. Do I want to catch COVID? No. So I wear the mask. The whole thing is just, I get it. You don't wear a mask. I understand. You can't be so inconsiderate you not wearing the mask is essentially you saying, I don't really care about other people's well-being. I can't be bothered. And I don't see how we have reached a place like that as humans, to the point where we literally don't even care about other people's well-being. We're supposed to love our neighbors. We're supposed to love our neighbors. We're supposed to love everyone. We're called to love everyone. So if you really want to show some love, the least you could do is put on a mask. The least you can do is put on a mask. All the Karens out there, all the Karens, those are some truly inconsiderate people. The lady in the park with her dog and the man who was feeding the birds. I've never that probably of all the Karens I've seen, one of the most inconsiderate Karens. Because if you watch that video where, he's calling or she's calling the police, for absolutely no reason, you see like she has her dog on a leash and she's pulling him. The poor dog looked like it was going to die. And I was so worried. I'm just like, man, you're really like so, and obviously, don't be inconsiderate to your dogs. I love dogs. I love animals. I love animals in general. Don't be inconsiderate to your animals. Keep them safe. But if, I thought that people like Karens, like people like that, I thought they were supposed to like love their animals. So if you truly love your animal, treat it right. Don't be inconsiderate to the point where you're so scared for absolutely no reason that you call the cops on the man doing nothing and then you try and choke your dog. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. Stop being so inconsiderate. It's a really it's a super simple thing. And it's the super simple things that I feel would help a lot of people out, If you can just do the really simple things like being considerate, put your mask on when you go out. When you're in the lines at stores and you see those lovely pieces of tape on the floor that some lovely coworker or some lovely employee of the establishment that you were shopping at had to take their time and put down and then space them 6 feet apart. Please respect that. If you're not going to respect the time that the worker took, respect my personal space and stop standing so close to me. You don't have to be right up on me a line. Like no one's going to skip you. No one's going to skip you in line. You can stand 6 feet away from me and still maintain your spot in line and just be perfectly fine. It'll be okay. Of all the things that I thought COVID would do, and actually I take that back. This whole thing started with people buying millions and millions of packs of toilet tissue. So I'm not so why I'm surprised that as this has gone on, people have got more inconsiderate, which I still see that. Like people are still, maybe not with toilet paper, but I definitely see people like stockpiling, which maybe at this point I can kind of understand because we're probably going to end up in another shutdown. So maybe I can see that a little bit more. There's no need to be that inconsiderate. You don't need 4 slabs of ribs. You can't eat all that at once. I guess you could. You shouldn't. Save me some ribs. I like ribs. But yeah, let's, I just really wish we could all be a little bit more considerate of one another, and whether it be being considerate of people's feelings or being considerate of people's dreams and not trying to force what we wanted on like our children and stuff like that. I think the world would be a little bit better place. I think, and we can get there. We can definitely get there. We weren't really molded or created to be inconsiderate towards one another. We're created to love one another. And I think there's a very large majority of us that do love most people like that. And so I think we just have to get out there and try and spread the word and win some people over onto our side. Obviously it's a lot easier said than done, especially now with COVID and everything, but you don't really need to be in people's faces to convince them of something. You just live a good life and remain considerate and humble and righteous and holy, and I think people will start to look at themselves and be like, oh man, I want some of that. And I think that's the best way to go about it. I don't know that that's science, or I don't know if it's been proven, but that's me. That's what Antoine thinks. I think that we just live the best lives that we could possibly live, and maintain holy and righteous and humble and considerate and nice, and we cherish one another. I think we'll start to see a change. But that's all I got. Just not a lot. I don't know. My episodes, I don't know how often I'll hit 30 minutes anymore. If I have to talk for 30 minutes, I will. But if not, then maybe I feel like I've made my point a little bit sooner than expected, and that's okay too. But yeah, I'm out. I'm gonna get out of here. I will talk to everyone next Tuesday. If no one's told you today, I love you and you mean the world to me. I hope you have a great weekend. Be blessed.